Beneath the incandescent sun of the Aegean, there once stood a city that shimmered like a mirage. Atlantis, the zenith of human achievement. Its crystalline and golden towers soared towards the heavens. Its thoroughfares throbbed with vitality and melody. Here, science and spirituality coexisted in harmony. The Atlanteans harbored a belief in their chosen status, children of Poseidon, custodians of wisdom and innovation. They commandeered the Earth's latent energy, manipulating light, wind, and water to serve their desires. Yet with each novel invention, arrogance took deeper hold. And in their dazzling ingenuity, they disregarded the fundamental truth that binds all empires. Perfection is ephemeral. As twilight descended upon the resplendent domes of Atlantis, subtle murmurs of avarice and an insatiable hunger for dominion began to propagate beneath the veneer of beauty. In the nucleus of Atlantis, Prince Kael addressed the Council of Elders. His tone composed yet imbued with fervent conviction. He articulated a vision to extend Atlantis beyond the ocean's confines, to discover new territories, to command the terrestrial sphere. His gaze radiated a luminescence mirroring the sun, a radiance of brilliance, yet tinged with perilous ambition. The elders cautioned him. The sea bestows bounty, yet it also extracts retribution. Yet Kael's spirit remained unyielding. He posited that Atlantis was fated to ascend, not to languish beneath divine aegis. And thus he assembled the most astute intellects and devised a strategy to delve further into the Earth's core, the heart of Poseidon, a potent energy source rumored to rival the gods themselves. However, as the crystals commenced their resonant hum in the waters encompassing the island churned, a penumbra obscured the prince's countenance. The murmurs from the abyssal depths commenced to resonate, not with paeans of glory, but with omens of impending peril. The deities were observing. Deep beneath the radiant city, the heart of Poseidon commenced to throb with an otherworldly vitality. The savants and priests of Atlantis stood transfixed as the crystalline nucleus awakened, luminescence swirling like a sentient tempest within its core. The atmosphere vibrated with raw puissance, and the earth quaked as if recalling some primordial resentment. Prince Kael gazed on with trembling hands. The impossible had materialized. They had harnessed the very essence of the gods. "We shall never know the confines of limitation again," he murmured. Yet even as triumph surged through his breast, a chilling aura pervaded the chamber. The illumination of the heart faltered, and for an ephemeral instant, he fancied he glimpsed a phantasmal silhouette stirring within, a sentience peering back. That night, while the city reveled in its victory, the breakers murmured against the marmoreal shores of Atlantis. The ocean had borne witness to their transgression, and somewhere in the abyssal depths, the ocean began to churn. The nights in Atlantis grew increasingly turbulent. The ocean, once serene and sacrosanct, commenced to murmur spectral melodies that insinuated themselves through the city's waterways and reverberated amidst the crystalline spires. Inhabitants awoke from nightmares of submersion, dreams, wherein the sea intoned their very appellations. Even the priests fell into taciturnity, intuiting that something slumbering beneath the waves had stirred. Prince Kael could no longer attain equanimity. Each time he occluded his eyes, he perceived a susurrus, gentle, mournful, and inexorable. "Return that which was purloined," it entreated. He wandered the palatial corridors during the nocturnal hours, his visage in the marmoreal waters trembling with an unnameable culpability. Yet hubris fettered his heart. He remained obdurate. Far beneath, in the tenebrous depths, forms commenced to stir, primordial sentinels of the sea, roused by the hubris of mortals. The tide had shifted, and the deities were no longer quiescent. The sanctuaries of Atlantis, once resonant with paeans to Poseidon, now stood in an unsettling quietude. The sea gods' effigies, formerly incandescent with energy, commenced to fissure and pall, The Hierophants murmured that the divine presence had forsaken them, that the very ocean no longer acknowledged Atlantis' hallowed ground. Yet to the council, piety was an infirmity. "We are now our own divinities," proclaimed Prince Kale. As his dominion amplified, so too did his estrangement from his populace. He substituted invocations with advancement, temples with laboratories, fealty with aspiration. The heart of Poseidon blazed ever brighter, casting its unhallowed radiance across the palatial ramparts. Yet during the nocturne, Kale would gaze upon his reflection in the waters below and behold an alien visage, orbs of gold, attenuated by culpability, countenance haunted by susurrations. The same vox returned to him anew, more subdued now, almost imploring, "You were destined to safeguard, not to govern." The initial tempest descended without prelude. Colossal waves, exceeding the height of towers, surged from the horizon, relentlessly crashing against the pristine marble shores of Atlantis. Lightning cleaved the heavens like the wrath of deities, transmuting daylight into an incandescent night. The populace fled toward the forsaken temples, imploring Poseidon's name. Yet their supplications were met only by the deafening roar of thunder. Prince Kale stood on the palace balcony, his cloak buffeted by the tempestuous wind, his gaze filled with incredulity. "This cannot be divine retribution," he murmured. "This is nature itself." Revolting against fear, yet deep within, he recognized the verity. This was no mere storm. It was divine judgment. As the heart of Poseidon throbbed with increasing luminescence, the energy contained within the crystal commenced to feed upon the external pandemonium. The ocean and the heart were intrinsically linked, and each lightning strike, each crashing wave augmented the power, rendering it fiercer, more uncontrollable, beyond mortal comprehension. Deep within the palace, the heart of Poseidon shrieked. Its once melodious resonance had transformed into a thunderous clamor of rage and agony, reverberating through the crystalline corridors like the lament of a deity in extremis. The tempest above persisted unabated, thunder coalesced with the quaking earth, and the atmosphere shimmered with untamed energy. Scientists entreated Prince Kale to deactivate it. "It is rending the very core asunder," they exclaimed. However, Kale, blinded by hubris and remorse, demurred. "If we relinquish the heart, Atlantis perishes." Yet the reality was far more merciless. If he did not release it, all would perish. The heart commenced to fissure. Azure cracks extended across its resplendent surface like veins of lightning, and through the rifts, something primeval and irate stirred, the very essence of the ocean, reclaiming what mortals had purloined. In that instant, Kale finally apprehended. Dominion devoid of equilibrium was the veritable malediction of deities and mortals alike. The firmament above Atlantis darkened. The tempest no longer emanated from the heavens. It ascended from the ocean itself. Aqueous ramparts towered over the gilded cupolas, engulfing all in their trajectory. The vainglorious city that once flouted the deities now entreated for clemency, beneath their own artifice. Prince Kale hastened through inundated corridors as the palace crumbled around him. Lamentations of his populace reverberated. Through the maelstrom, mothers, clutching their progeny, soldiers endeavoring to restrain the insurmountable. "We can still redeem them," his sister Lyra shrieked, her voice piercing through the pandemonium. Yet Kale vacillated. The heart still throbbed below. If he deactivated it, Atlantis would succumb irrevocably. If he did not, none would endure. As thunder lacerated above, Kale gazed toward the heavens one final time. The susurrations of the ocean had burgeoned into a vociferous clamor, no longer imploring, but exacting. It was time to elect his vanity or his populace. Far beneath the imploding palace, Kale ventured into the chamber of the heart. The thoroughfare was submerged in a confluence of fire and water, molten luminescence and seawater, intertwining like serpentine avatars of destiny. Each footfall resounded with the lamentations of his expiring city, the populace he had forsaken. The heart palpitated erratically, fissures now exuding torrents of resplendent azure energy. Kale extended his quivering hand. "Absolve me," he murmured, not to the deities but to Atlantis itself. He comprehended now that dominion was never intended to be possessed. It was intended to be safeguarded. As he affixed his hand onto the heart's facade, visions inundated his psyche, his youth by the literal zone, the mirth of his populace, the inaugural sunrise over the gilded towers. The energy engulfed him, lacerating flesh and spirit asunder. Yet his essence remained steadfast. The light intensified, exponentially until it subsumed, all and for a transient instant. Atlantis radiated like a secondary sun beneath the ocean. The ocean stilled. The tempests receded into susurrations. Where once arose spires of gold and crystal, there now remained only quiescence and radiance, pirouetting beneath the billows. The heart of Poseidon had vanished, yet its reverberation persisted, humming softly through the abyssal depths like a berceuse of the departed. Epochs elapsed. The world expunged the appellation of Atlantis. Yet at times mariners professed to discern a gleam deep below the ocean bed, a shimmer of azure, as if the metropolis yet respired beneath the waves. Savants deemed it fable. Visionaries proclaimed it verity. And somewhere beyond the confines of temporality, Kale's essence kept vigil, not as a sovereign but as a custodian. For ultimately Atlantis was never about potence or resplendence. It was a speculum, a reflection of the human soul. A monition that the most magnificent realms are not extirpated by adversaries, but by their own avidity to extend beyond the illumination. And in that taciturnity, the ocean recollects.